Hi, I'm Richard Perry, and tonight we're going to take a look at, I'm primarily going to be focusing in, I teach a class for Old and New Testament overview, where we take a look at the books of the Bible and try to get a good overview from them, not trying to be spiritual or add our own comments, but just to look at the specifics found within the books themselves. That's an important thing, important exercise to do. And one thing that we have made available to students and to all is that we have a thing called the English Specialty Starter, and it has some really good resources in it. It's 50% off for students at Faith International University. We do have it on sale all the time at 50% off. So if you see something in here you like, you might wait for a sale, or if you know of somebody that doesn't have Accordance, it'd be a great gift. Even though it does have limited resources, I'm going to be focused primarily on those resources tonight, but just to show you how powerful and what you can do with just a handful of resources within Accordance. So that's what we're going to be looking at tonight. Now, what you probably see in front of you, there's a handout. It's an introduction to using Accordance for conducting book-by-book overviews. And this is a handout that tells you a little bit about the books of the Old Testament and the New Testament. Then down below, I have some links that are hot to go to different places that have information on books of the Bible that you can open up. Later on in the broadcast, I will be showing you that within Accordance, you can actually have your own websites and open up the web browser from within the program itself. And I'll make available by emailing me that user tool that I created. So you'll see down at the very bottom my email address, and if you see something that I've done or that you want a file for something that I mention or show, just let me know and I'll be glad to email that to you. Now those files will only work for people that have Accordance. Otherwise it will be a garbled nothing if you try to open it, but it will work perfectly within Accordance. So we're going to be covering a few of these things, and I'm not sure I can cover everything because there's a lot here. But what we'll try to do is get as much as we can in to give you a good overview, because I've had students say, I got the program, but now how do I use the program? So this little handout helps you out with a few things. Now, one thing last I wanted to say on some of these links that I have in here. By the way, I have links on Accordance videos and then different places. Now, I vet them, but not everything that I look at. Sometimes I might agree or disagree with some of the way that they're presented or what they might present, but I'll at least give you an idea. My thing is I always want to learn. So if you see something here, or if you find something that I'm teaching on that you question, I do not mind being confronted on it. As a matter of fact, I want to learn, I want to grow. I've been studying the scriptures, but I mean, I've had students come up and tell me things I just didn't even know, and I went, wow, that is so enlightening to me. So I think we all are in this journey together to learn biblical truths, and I don't want pride or anything else in my life to hinder me from that. So anyway, this handout is here, and again, you'll be seeing some other things as we go through it that you might want. And again, my email's at the bottom of the handout. Now I'm going to turn off my video of me, and I want to firstly go here, and then after I get to my web browser, I'm going to ask Linda, go ahead and start the recording.
Okay.
Okay, I guess the recording has started. So like I mentioned to begin with, I'm going to be starting with looking at this English Specialty Starter, because that's what I've recommended to my class. The reason for that is I have some pocket dictionaries from IVP. They're included in this, as well as Bibles, outlines, and more. So let's just take a look to see what is in this package. Remember, this pricing is discounted from time to time. So let's take a look. There are some samples. Here are the things that we do want to know. We have an ESV, which is probably the most accurate translation today. You know, it might be questioned a bit, but it's tied with Strong's. We have the King James, and then we have a bunch of other public domain ones. It also includes the IVP New Bible Commentary, which we're going to take a look at. By the way, you'll see what these prices run for each of these books individually. And again, it's a really good discount when you get the whole thing. Then one of my favorites, this is the 1915 edition of the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. It's a 5-volume set. It has over 9,600 topics. And now think about this. There are 13,000 unique words that make up the Bible in English, but 9,600 topics from the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. I think the next closest one for the number of topics covered, if I'm not mistaken, is probably Anchor. And Anchor has, I believe, around 6,400 topics that it covers. And even though this is a 1915 edition, it contains a wealth of wonderful information. Then you have all of these pocket dictionaries, and like these are my required texts in my class, the Apologetics Dictionary, as well as the theological terms. They're both found within this package. But you have biblical studies, church history, denominations, ethics, Greek, Hebrew, liturgy, new movements, Reformed, going down world religion, and so forth. Then also you have outlines, which I think are very important. Here's a pocket history of church, of history of the church, of history, theology, and apologetics. So we're going to take a look at some of these things. And then I also want to take a look at these parallels. You know, even if you've been with Accordance for years, you may not have ever explored the parallels, and they are a wonderful resource just to have them alone. I don't know of anything online or any place that I've ever looked that has these kind of parallels where you have this, how the Gospels parallel to each other, the harmony of the Gospels, Old Testament verses that are in the New Testament, Old Testament parallels when you have something that's written in Deuteronomy, but it's also written again in Psalms, that kind of thing. You have the synoptic gospel parallels, which is really good. And then we're going to make use of this tonight is the GNT TRS. It's a Greek New Testament Textus Receptus. Now, I wish this had a full Hebrew text, but it doesn't. But we're going to get a lot or glean a lot of wonderful information, I believe, just using this Greek text. Even if you don't know Greek, you'll see how this can come into play to really help you with some studies in a very unique way. So, and then the other thing we'll be drawing your attention to down the road are these notes and how they help. So there's a lot of wonderful materials in this package for really a very low price. But let's take a look now and see how Accordance works. So I'm going to go to the program. Now, the first thing that I want to do is to show you a few things that within the layout of this desktop. Down here, this is called an instant detail. I can turn it on and I can turn it off. And this allows me to point to a word that is a Strong's tagged word. And down below, it shows me the morphology, what it is in Hebrew, noun, common, masculine, singular, and different forms of it from a gloss. So any word I point to, it gives me information on, which is helpful. Anytime you see in a Bible, like a heading, that's not the scripture, but that's called a pericope. And they actually help, different translations have pericopes that, you know, might term it differently, but they're good to see where a translation will break up a paragraph or chapter and give you sort of information on what that paragraph you're about to read covers. So these pericopes are really important, I think, to look at and view. Then I want to draw your attention up here. You have, well, here's dark mode. If you're at night, you can go to dark mode, light mode. By the way, I'm running on a Mac, but on Windows, it's very similar, except that things are sort of reversed. So when I open or close a window on the right side on a Mac, on a Mac, it's on the left side, on Windows on the right side. So, but Windows will operate virtually the same, but you just got to get used to where the different X's are and how to open, minimize, and close. But if you're familiar with Windows, you would do that just fine. Then we also have these built-in tutorials, and we have easy, intermediate, advanced, and it doesn't matter what size package you buy. You have step-by-step things on knowing your library, opening books, opening preferences, and so forth. So you can see the number of different types of tutorials to teach you how to use the program. You also have online help. So if you're connected to the internet, it will open up and give you an online help of everything on how to use the program. One thing that Accordance wants to do is to make sure you learn how to use the program. And I've had every basic Bible program in the industry. I have several of the big ones today too. I think that Accordance does a great job, honestly, for research and for ease of use. And it kind of operates the way you think. So I appreciate that. Now, over here under my library, this is where you open up your books, and I like this. What I've created, you have your Bible texts, and then you have your different dictionaries, commentaries, and so forth. Now, my library is going to be bigger than just the um, resources found in that English starter, but I'm going to try to limit myself to just using those works that are found in the English starter. So, but you see, you can actually have multiple categories. What I've done is down here under my groups, I've created one called English Specialty Starter, and I've tried to put in there the books that I want to show tonight that are in that package. One of the things that is in that package is called Getting Started with Accordance. So remember, we have the built-in tutorials, we have the online help, and the Getting Started book. I just click on that, open up my table of contents. It shows me auto word verses, searching, refining your search. You know, it just covers. There's some videos in here too that you can watch on how to use the program. So I'm just showing you this because there is help throughout the every bundle, throughout just the basic Accordance program. There's help. There's videos. That handout that is attached has links to videos that cover so many varieties of using Accordance. And then Linda, she sort of organizes and manages the webinars. We have webinars every week taught by just really gifted teachers that cover everything from basics to really advanced studies in original languages or hermeneutics or theology. So all of those things are free to help you get to know the program better. Now, I'm here in the, I've showed you the help, the getting started, the videos and the classes. Again, I just want to say that there is so much that that I'm going to be covering that people have said, and I understand this totally, that it's overwhelming. It's like, you know, there's just so much you just can't comprehend. You're just seeing all this and you go, wow, what is he doing? How did he do that? Well, hopefully you'll have access to this video and be able to go back and look. And again, the help that's built into the program. But also, I may not be able to get through everything. And I'm really thinking that I might have to slow down just a bit and have a part 2 that goes over some more advanced things, just a little bit more advanced, not too much more, but a little bit more advanced in a couple weeks. So I'm willing to do that if we need to get to that point. Okay, now let me go through a couple things. The first thing I'm going to go through rather quickly. It's called setting your preferences. I'm not going to go through and explain everything. Hopefully you can play with it, but you'll trust me on some of this stuff. So to find that, I'm going to go up to Accordance, and I think Linda could mention it, but I think on a Windows machine, it's either under Edit or Utilities that you'll see Settings.
It's Edit.
It's under Edit, you'll see Settings, and I'm going to go into Settings, and you'll get a whole list of things that you can customize within the Accordance program. So let me just highlight a few things that for me that work out good. Under General, I like to go to the last session. That's fine. I try to suppress everything because I want to go right into the program. You may not want to if you are just starting out with the program, and you can turn these off later. And then I have open parallel tools, show stack when adding items, but this is key. This last one here says arrow keys, and I've changed it. I think the default is move insertion point, but I've changed it to change resources and navigate. And that will allow me to cycle through dictionaries on one topic with just a click of a button, and you'll see how that operates. Under Amplify, in this package, I'm going to have my amplification to be that 5-volume encyclopedia, the International Standard Bible Encyclopedia. It does come with the Mounce Greek Dictionary, so I've chosen that. It has a Kohlenberger Mounce for Hebrew. I don't think I really have Latin, so it's not going to really work. And then for verse reference, another thing that's included in this package is the treasury of scripture knowledge. So that's what I have, and you'll see how I can do word studies with just these 2 items very quickly within the program. I'm not going to worry about the rest of those. Under appearance, what you want to do, I think sometimes it comes with limit text on. I turn that off because if you have a big screen, you can get a few more windows in and you're not limited, and your Bible takes up your full screen rather than a bit. Because I'm demonstrating, I've turned things to large or medium large. So like my info pane and instant detail will be a little bit bigger when I'm doing things. So that's how that works. Auto scroll as medium, I'm going to turn that to very fast. You're going to see where that comes into play here in just a bit. I'm not going to worry about keyboard shortcuts. Workspaces, I think it's 4. I've turned it to unlimited, and I've turned everything else off, but you can play around with this. The good thing is, the fun thing is you can explore. You're not going to break it. You can say hide tab or always show, and just sort of see how that works when you open up, windows within a desktop, or what we call a zone. The text display is something I do want to draw your attention to. In here, you can choose your font. So you can choose Times. I have Century School Book. You can choose Arial, whatever you want. And then you can choose the size. And I chose bigger because I want people to be able to see it. Actually, it's 24. That's not 24. I just made it bigger by using my enlarged text here. But you can set your default for the color of the font you want and what you want highlighted and all that here. You can show it paragraphs with spaces. That means, in Bibles, typically you can either have a verse on a line, or you can say, I want to see the whole paragraph, the whole thought, before it moves on to another paragraph. And that's what I like to do it, but you can choose it however you want, verses that are separated or paragraph. This is sort of fun. I like my Bibles to be a 35 space. You can do big or small. I'm going to go 35 because if you're in accordance, you got color highlighting, but you also have symbols. So if I have a crown that I want to put every place beneath in the Old Testament where it talks about the Messiah or the King, I can put a crown or a scroll next to the Word of God or whatever. And I wanted to leave enough space that if I put a symbol underneath the word, that it doesn't bleed over on top of the word, underneath it. So I found that 30 or 35% works very, very good. And then I've chosen a color background of white so that I always know that this is my Bible. My tool display, I don't have to worry so much about. I can color highlight, but I'm not going to put objects underneath the word here. So I think most of people have it at 10. I turned mine to 20 because for my eyes, I just like a little bit more breathing room when I'm looking at things. Again, I have a different type of a font. I have Arial here, and you can set the size of the font and everything. I chose a background color to be custom because you have different things. But when I'm in a dictionary or a regular book, I want to make sure that my Bible is always my focus of attention. So I choose a different color if I'm in, some other type of book. So that's how that works. I'm going to go to Parchment here. User note display. This is, again, you can choose a few things, but I'm not going to worry about that. I don't think I worry about export. No. Greek and Hebrew, yeah, this one I do work with. I like to amplify, and I like to have as much information. So some of these are unchecked when you come into amplify. I don't think it hurts. Just check them all. Why not? And that seems to do pretty good. That's the only thing I'd like to say on that one is I just make sure that my amplify constructs are all turned on. Not going to worry about compared text, instant details. Same thing here. I make sure everything is checked on here so I have every type of information when I'm doing a word study. And I like my font size large because I'm old. And And so that's how I do that. I'm not going to worry about citations. There, we get to it, but it does full citations. I'll show you how that works if we have time. Actually, it comes down to bibliography. You can choose whatever type of citation you want to have it working, depending on what school you're in and how you want your citations. I'm going to take a Turabian footnote, and you'll see how that works. Speech, I'm not going to worry about so much. Let's see, parallel tabs. You can choose different translations for the different things. Oh, this is important. Reading. I like to show my results when I'm doing a search. I like to show my results in full text, and I also like to show the hits in the browser. I like to know how many, and I choose my library order, and you'll see why I choose library order in just a second, because in accordance, whatever book you move to the top of that category gets priority. So I take my favorite books, I take the best books, and I move them inside the library to the very top. That way, when I'm doing a search, those books, like Cream, they rise to the top, and they're the best ones for me to work with. I think that's about all I'm gonna show you on that. And then you can just change them all, and then the minute you hit OK, it goes through and it changes them all. So you don't have to click on one, change it and hit OK, click on one, change it and hit OK. You can just do them all, and then at one time hit OK, and it changes everything all at once. So that's setting your preferences, and that's how I do it. You can play around with it. That's the fun thing, and see if there's something that you like a little bit better. Now, I mentioned that in your library, you can move stuff around. So let's say I go into my Bibles, and let's say I wanted the King James to be my first default Bible. Well, you can click on it, and then you hold your left mouse button down, and you can move it to where you see a line, and you can drop it. So you can move your Bibles around, and then when you're in something, if I was in the King James, the next one that would open up to cycle through would be the next one in line. So again, I always think it's good to go down through your dictionaries, and I've created also categories. So you just right click and you can add a folder, and you can name a folder to anything you want, and then you can put however you want it in that folder. And so for me, I have the ISBE Revised, the Anchor. That's easy for you to say. Now these here on down, other than Easton's, so I can move Easton's up because that is in the English Specialty Starter. But you see, these are all dictionaries here that deal with complete topics, biblical topics. But then you're going to come across like specialized ones, like the pocket dictionaries and so forth. So there are specialized dictionaries, there's foreign dictionaries, there's indexes and miscellaneous. So, and I do the same thing with commentaries and so forth. But you want to move, get to know your library. The most important thing, whether you have a Bible program, whether you're using, a digital online program, Blue Letter Bible, Bible.hub, whatever, you want to know the books. You want to get to know their strengths, what they can offer you, what you can do with them, what kind of resources they offer, and how to use them to the best of their ability for the work that you're trying to do. So I always encourage people to get to know their books, and I'm going to show you how you start to get to know books within your library. I remember when I was a young Christian, and back in the 70s, Christian bookstores, they really didn't have shelves. They had piles of books on the floor, and you would walk in and you say, I'm a young Christian, and I don't know where to begin. And these people knew every book and that was on their floor. And they say, okay. And they'd take you over to a stack of books on the floor, and they say, this is how this book would help you. These are the characteristics, and this is why this would be a really good book for you to start with. The people knew the books, you got to know the books. It wasn't just you walked in and just a library of, wow, look at all these things. But each book had its own personality, and the people knew those personalities, and they helped you with them. And I thought that was really a good education for me when I first became a Christian. So that's your dictionary. Then down below, you have you can create tools, notes. like a note, I can go over here if I want to add a note. If you point to a note, you see that there are notes already down below here that were made. If you see a plus sign, that means you can add a note. You click on that, you can add a note. You can create multiple note sets. So it's just like being able to read and take notes as you're going along. But here we have, and we won't go into all of these things, but I just wanted to show you that those are a few, there's a lot in this program besides the library, things that you can create as well to get along with. So what we have here in front of us right now, I want to just stay with one Bible just briefly, and I'm going to close up my library. And so what I'm going to show you is this, a couple things that I like. Within accordance, I'm going to close out my instant detail up here. And what we have here, this is busy. We have the Bible, and we have a menu bar. And by the way, you can right click and you can customize your menu bar, but I'm not going to do that. Just letting you know, we'll save that for another time. One thing that I've liked is I can go in here and I can say, you know what? I don't want all this clutter. I just want to look at the word and I just want to read it. And so I'm going to say, go ahead and go into reading mode. It goes full page on me. I can make the font bigger. And then I can say, start to auto scroll. And so I can take my hands off of everything and I can have the computer auto scrolling the Bible full page so that I can read it and have sort of a devotional as I'm going. And to me, I've always enjoyed that. So anyway, that's a little reading, again, that's found here. It's called enter reading mode, and then you can go into auto scrolling. So that's something you can do. Now, a couple things within a Bible that is tied to Strong's. This is a little bit more advanced, but it's good. I can right away launch into an interlinear with that particular Bible. It'll show me the Strong's number, the Hebrew word, and what part of the speech it is. I can open up my instant details and it gives me more morphology on that. I can also customize this. I'm not going to go into it right now, but I can add in transliterations. I can add in glosses. I can add in all sorts of things to customize this interlinear as I'm going through it. So anything with the Strong's number, or if it's an actual Greek or Hebrew text, you can open up and create an interlinear and you can save it. So you can come back if you truly customize it. You can do a lot of things with that. The other thing that you have here is you see you have little superscripts, and if you point to it, those are cross-reference notes that you can take a look at. So it's just like a Bible that has a center reference column with all of these notes, but I'm going to show you how I can get to those pretty easily. Then you also have up here where you can type in a verse or word. So let's go ahead and do a verse first. So let's say that I want to go, now watch this, I want to go to Genesis 1:1, and I'm going to put a comma, and then I want to go to John 3:16, or you can put a colon, doesn't matter. And I'm going to put a comma, oops, 316 won't work. There we go, 3:16, comma. And then I'm going to go to Revelation 3:20, comma. Oh, why is it doing that? 3:20, comma. And I could go one more, let's see, Psalms 1 through 4. So I have multiple verses here that I wanted to just sort of look at. So I just type them in and put a comma between them. And then when I hit enter, it just shows me those verses, which I think is sort of fun. Now, if I want to expand them out and see the context around them, I'm going to make this a little smaller. I can say, right now it's showing me the one verse, but I can say I want to see 25 verses around that particular thing. So you can expand this out. You can look at the whole Bible, or you can just do a few verses to see the context before and after it if you want to. So, or if you want to just go to any book, you can say, I just want to go to Genesis, and you're right at Genesis. Type in Genesis. Another way to get around is you have a table of contents and it says, I want to go to Galatians chapter 1, verse 1, and you're Galatians. So this little table of contents is a little navigation bar that helps you get around as well. Then you also have words. And so like we have flex. So if you were to type in man, it would find man and it would find min. So it'd find, just different forms of that particular thing. So flex gives you a little bit more. But let's say that I wanted to search for a word and I don't know how to spell the word. Let's say Nebuchadnezzar. I just start typing in N-E-B and there it is. And it helps you. And this is true whether you're in a Bible, a commentary, a dictionary. If you're doing a search on a word, it will help you. If that word is found in that particular work, it will help you spell it. And then when you do your search, instantly. Now, one other thing I've got to say about Accordance. Accordance doesn't do an indexing of all of their works when it comes down to you. When you download a book, it doesn't have to index it to increase the speed. A lot of programs in the past and even today, they're always updating their library, indexing it to an index. Basically takes a look at the book and then categorizes all the A's, the does, the his, the servants, the threes, the years, so that if you did a search for something, it would find it fast. Well, Accordance, I believe, is the fastest search engine in the industry, and it does no indexing. So you don't have to wait every day, every time you download a new book for it to be indexed into your entire library, which I think is very helpful. But so anyways, I can do a search that way. I can do a search for something like blessed is the, and I can find anything. This, I don't have to put brackets or parentheses. It will find anything that in a phrase. I just start typing it in, and then you can search that translation, see if it exists. Another thing you can do that I like is you can do searches for like all the questions of the Bible. So there's a little thing called a period, and that period tells the program that anything that follows that period, it has to look for. So you could put in a quotation mark, you could put in a comma, you could put in a semicolon, you could put in a question mark. And so once I do that and hit how many questions are there in the ESV, and that's what I'm wanting to find, I hit enter, and it tells me over here the results. There are 3,130 questions in this particular translation, and you can see that it highlights them for me, right? Now, which book of the Bible has more questions per capita than any other book? Well, this here, again, you're going to learn about this. It's a little analytic tool, and I can go over here and I say, you know what, I want to see the hit graph because I want to see where it spikes and what book does it really spike. And so I'm going to click on that, and I can make this a little bit wider. Well, guess what book has the most hits on questions? The book of Job. And I don't think that's surprising because Job has just filled with questions. So that's sort of a fun thing that you can do with that. But again, you can do any kind of a thing, a quotation mark or anything, and you can find anything that follows a period when you're doing a search. Now, I'm going to do something a little bit different here before I get into parallel Bibles. I'm going to go to a book of the Bible. Let's see. I'm going to go back to my verses. Because I have a Greek text, I'm going to go to Romans. Now I'm in the book of Romans. And how many words are there in the book of Romans? Well, one thing that I mentioned in the attached handout, there's a thing called a search range. Now, if you email me, I will be able to attach that file with instructions on how to incorporate it into your Accordance program. It's not hard. Somebody went through and did a lot of work, not me, somebody else did. And what that allows me to do is I'm going to click on this plus sign here, and I'm going to go to range, and I want to find the book of Romans. What you currently have is very limited. It only has a few things. So this has minor prophets, major prophets, it has the Gospels, it has every book of the Bible, and somebody did this. And so this is a search range. They took time to create it. Now you can create your own. So if I wanted to go through here and say I wanted to create one, I can define a range. But I'm glad that somebody did it already for me. I'm going to choose the book of Romans. So I said Romans and Romans, that's my range. And now all I need to do is I'm going to put an asterisk here. And I hit return, whoops, nope, let's see, where do we go? Romans. Okay, it took me back to Genesis. Oh, asterisk, period, asterisk. Let's try that. No? Okay, range is Romans. And I want words. That's what I want. Okay, come on, one more time. Maybe it's just asterisk.
Bert's saying type it as a word and not a verse.
That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Asterisk. There we go. Yeah, you turn it to words, doing it one asterisk, and everything is highlighted in red. It says that there are 9,492 words in the ESV for the book of Romans. Okay. Now, my question is, what words are used the most? Well, one thing I can do with my analytics is I can go through here and do a bar chart, and it'll show me the breakdowns, thus found this many times. But it's really hard to, you have a lot of other things here that are not major nouns. But it's helpful, but there's just a lot of words there. Let's narrow that down to just the nouns. I want to look at just the nouns that are found in the book of Romans. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to my search, and I'm going to do a thing called a text command. And so it's going to say the ESV is what you're in. Yes, but the ESV doesn't show me syntax, but the Greek Textus Receptus does. So I'm going to search this over from that to my Greek Tischendorf translation. And then I'm going to say, I just want all the nouns. I don't care about gender, number, case, or anything like that. What it's going to do is it's going to say, it's going to overlay the Greek on top of the ESV, find all the nouns, filter them out, and just show me in the English just the nouns from the Greek. So let's see if that works. I say, okay. I say, okay, up here, it gave it to me. I think I don't want the asterisk anymore. Well, let's just see what happens. Oh, there, it worked. Okay. So now it's showing me in red only the nouns. So now if I go to my analytics and show my bar chart, it's going to be all in Greek initially. No, it's in English. That works out good. So we can see here the words that you see a lot in the book of Romans: law, Christ, sin, Lord, faith, Jesus, righteousness, spirit, Gentiles. Let's do another book of the Bible. Let's go to Corinthians. And that's it. Since it's already set up, let's hit enter. And now it shows me the Greek. I can change that to the English words. What do we have? God, Lord, Christ, body, brothers, Jesus, wife, spirit, man, world, husband, wisdom, church. So it's sort of a fun thing to be able to use that text command to see key words that are being used by that author from that particular book. I just want to show you that. I just love that.
There is a question.
Yeah.
Is there a shortcut for the selection of verse, flex, or word? I used to have automatic recognition, but I nearly always get a dialogue now.
I don't. You mean up here if you go to flex? Is that what you're trying to do? Question, is that right?
Is there a shortcut for the selection of verse, flex, or word?
Yeah, you just click on the little down arrow next to it. Is that what they're trying to get at, Linda? I don't know.
Is that it? Maybe he can let me know.
Yeah, so if you click on this little down triangle, you can go to flex, you can go to words. And if you're typing in a verse, it's going to know it, so it's going to switch to verse. If you're typing in a word, it will know it. And if you're in a verse, you're typing a word, it'll switch to words. So that does it automatically.
Bert said there was a bug that caused his dialogue to appear. He said, make sure that you have the latest release because that bug was apparently. Okay, yeah. And there's another question. Modifying analytics concordance always causes my system to crash. Any suggestions?
Is he using Windows or Mac? Or are they using Windows or Mac?
I will ask.
Again, we fixed a lot of bug fixes.
Using Mac.
So make sure at this point that you're using uploaded to 14.0.11 because we fixed a lot of bugs, or our programmers did, in this.
Okay. And Sam says, will this work with Hebrew?
It works with Hebrew too, yeah, but I don't have a Hebrew text in this particular bundle.
Okay.
Yeah. One thing I didn't show you on the question mark, I think this is sort of fun. I'm gonna stop my ranges, but I want to find all the questions that surrounded the life of Jesus. Either he asked or it was asked of him. So I put a question, a period, question mark. I go up here to my search, and I'm going to do a command and I say Jesus. And then when I search, I get things that just deal with questions around where Jesus asked a question of someone or someone asked a question of him. I just think that's sort of a unique thing that you can play with, and that's sort of fun. So let's move on. Oops, I'm gonna go back to my library, open up the ESV. So I'm gonna not quite get there yet. Now you can also do a couple things from here too. You can also open up a parallel Bible. So like I said, you have the ESV with Strong's, but you also have things like the King James of Strong's. So I can open that up side by side, and as I go through one, they say synchronized together, and they show me the difference in the words. By just highlighting one word, one uses the word expanse, the other one uses the word firmament, but they both give me my information on the Hebrew or Greek down at the bottom. And if I go to a word, let's say I go to the word seed, and it doesn't matter which one I'm in, and I triple click with your left mouse button. It's really hard to learn to do this, but if you go click, 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 it will open up your Hebrew Strong's, in this case, Kohlenberger Mount's definition of that word. And you can take a look. So again, go to any word, triple click, 1, 2, 3, and it moves it to that definition. So that's something you can do as well. Then on top of that, so as you're going through, so if I'm studying a book of the Bible, I probably want to read through it, but you know what would be really helpful to get a good overview of it would be if I added something like a parallel, or not a parallel, but an outline. So under our reference tools, under biblical studies, we have outlines. And I'm going to add that in. And this is good because now over here, I get all the key highlights, or like the pericopes. I can see everything that's happening at a glance. I'm doing a flyover of that book. I get all the main facts of things that were happening. Adam and Eve, and you know what's so amazing in the classes, and if I have some students here, you'll understand this. We sometimes look at Genesis and we just say, we think it's all about creation and the beginning of Adam and Eve, and we forget the Tower of Babel, we forget the Noah and the Ark, the Tower of Babel, but that's only up through chapter 10. And then chapter 11 starts, and we get the start of a generation of a nation for God through Abraham. And that continues all the way through the rest of Genesis. So almost, you know, what is it? I don't know, what would that be? 10, well, 40 chapters or 39 chapters out of 50 deal with Abraham and his descendants. So, I mean, that's pretty amazing. But again, as you're scrolling through it, it doesn't matter what book I go to. I can go to Revelation, and my outline stays with me. And this is a really good way, and I can point to these too. If I didn't have anything else open but my outline, it would give me good information. So you have that. Now, another thing that you have that I think is in this package, under my reference tools, let's see, under my reference tools, I have here, where are my, notes, syntax, diagrams, cross-references and cross-references? No, I just had them. Well, one way to get to it, I have over here, I'm just going to go over here and go down to my stuff that I have for my English specialty starter. And I'm going to open up the ESV Strong's Notes. So, and I might as well, I can open them up here because now they're going to show up here and I can open them up in parallel. Once I open up a book, if it can parallel in, it will be there. I'm going to just leave it here by itself. And I'm going to tie this tab to this ESV over here. So I'm going to say tie tab to the ESV. So now as I scroll up and down, that goes right with me. The nice thing about these notes that I like, they do give me a bit of, they have outlines in them, but they also give me a brief introduction to that particular book. And so that's always helpful to have a bit of information about that book before you start to read it. It's not a lot of information, but it's a really good start. And again, no matter what book I go to, it's going to, at the very beginning, give me a good introduction to that book. So that's what notes are good for, in conjunction with your outlines. Now, another thing that the window here has under parallel is you can add an info pane. So the info pane will take a look at what commentaries you have, what books you have. These are not in the library. They will say, we have information on the verse you're looking at. And no matter where I go, how fast I go there, they stay immediately up to speed with whatever I'm looking at. And they will change depending on what I'm looking at. So that's what an info pane does. It gives you everything from your library that has information, or most everything that's geared on a book, chapter, verse level to give you information. I don't use it that often, but it's there. If you were in here and you wanted to open up a commentary, you could just click on it and it would open up in here and be part of that that list right there. So for instance, going back here, I'm going to go down to the bottom. I'm going to find my commentaries, New Bible Commentary, Jameson's Fawcett Brown. I'm going to close these out here. I could tie the tabs to them, but I'm not going to worry about that. Now they're in my parallels. I could open up Jamieson Fawcett Brown. I could open up the New Bible Commentary. So now I have an outline. I have two Bibles, an outline, and two commentaries, all in synchronization to what I'm studying and looking at. And the commentaries are nice because they will give you a background, more of a background information on a particular book. So let's take a look at that. Let's close this out. Let me open this up separately. And so we have the introduction to Romans, and I can tie this tab just like I did before. I can go here and say I want to tie that tab to the ESV, and now it will stay synchronized. But when you're in a commentary, commentaries will give you more of an information that deal with the book. And so and like the other commentary also gives you a really nice outline on that book as well. So here's the introduction to the book of Genesis. I mean, it's really, really long. And so that's, you can use commentaries, go to the beginning of for each book and get information on that. I want to take a quick look quickly at something else here. I'm going to close these out. Another thing that comes in the program that a lot of people don't use, but it's a wonderful thing, are these things called parallels. And so I'm just going to cover these really quickly. You have a gospel parallel. So this is found in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and you can use this up here to navigate John the Baptist, where it's found in all the books, the call of the first disciples, the discourse with Nicodemus, Jesus, and so forth. And so you can go through these and see where there's a parallel. You say with the harmony, the Old Testament parallels are really interesting too, where you have different things where you have a verse in maybe Genesis and it parallels with later in Genesis, or let my people go with Exodus, different places. So these parallels are really, really nice to play with. They have New Testament epistle parallels as well. And so this is standard in all of our packages. It's just sort of a fun way to be able to go through and study the similarities between books, or the differences, or how Old Testament was used in New Testament. And I just think that's sort of a fascinating little bit of a study to be able to do. Now, let's see where I'm at here. Okay. Let's take a look at the dictionary. I'm going to open up, when I mentioned that books have characteristics, this is important. I'm going to open up a Bible and I'm going to open up a commentary, and I'm going to have them side by side, and I want to just show you how they differ. What is a dictionary created for? It's created to give you information on an entry. What is a commentary created for? It's to give you a commentary or information on a verse. It's not a topical work. It's not a dictionary. It's saying, I'm going to give you, and there are many different types of commentaries. There are some that are application commentaries that give you application. There are some that are word study commentaries. There are preaching commentaries. There are analytical commentaries. There are all types of commentaries. There are liberal. There are conservative. There are technical. There are practical. So there's multiple types of commentaries you can have out there. But every commentary and every dictionary has its own characteristics. So when I say you need it at the beginning to get to know your library, it's important. So for example, the ISBE has an entry, which is your main topic, English content. That means it's a word found within the body of the text. It has scripture that you can locate, like Joshua 3:10 all the way throughout, transliterations, Greek content, Hebrew content, other languages, bibliography, author, captions, all English. So not all dictionaries have all of this. Some have fewer, some have, different things. Commentaries. The first thing that they were created for was to give you information on a reference. But then they can do titles, content, author, scripture. This one, everyone is different. So let's just play with these just real quick. And I'm going to have to go to a part 2. I can see that right now. So if I'm in here, let's say I'm going to open, I really love the table of contents. Table of contents is a great way to start to see things, especially in a dictionary. If I'm in a table of contents and I type in Moses, you'll see all the places that deal with Moses within the table of contents. And of course, you'll find Moses under the letter M, but look at all these other places that you find supplemental information on Moses through this 5-volume encyclopedia that you never would have thought of looking at had you not been able to do this quickly, effortlessly, by just clicking on places that Moses is mentioned. Now, I can do the same thing over here. I can change this from a reference, but when I open up the table of contents, it's going to give me introduction to the book, and then the events in the book, the people mentioned in the book. Again, this is really good. The prophecies, a lot of good things that are there, but it's not really doing a topical. So to do and I could type in Moses. Let's see if anything happens. Maybe it will. So I type in Moses. Moses is a flight to Midian. And look at this. This commentary is now acting like a topical dictionary in some respects, giving me lots of information on that topic just by typing it in. So the table of contents within a digital thing is a wonderful, wonderful way to deal with things. Now, if you're in a work, and let's say I go up here and I'm going to close up my table of contents, and let's say I can do the same thing by typing in Moses and hitting enter, and it tells me that there are 30 hits on Moses in this encyclopedia, and I can go to the next hit down, the next hit down, the next hit down. But I can also go, if I go down, where do I want to go? Well, yeah, let's just go here, Moses. I can put my pointer in here, and under preferences, remember I said I wanted to put a point that it would change by that point. So I have it flashing here. Now, if I hit my right arrow, it's going to go to my next dictionary. And I think that's going to be the ISBE Revised. No, it's Easton. So it went to Easton. So those are the two. So I can cycle through by just using my right or left arrow key on any dictionary that has information on Moses. The same thing with the reference. If I go here and I click inside there, I can now go between different books, although I was looking for Moses. Let's go to Genesis 1. Oh, close this out. Oops. These words are verse reference are found. Yes, they are. Oh, it's New Testament. Okay, let's go Revelation. There we go. So now I can right click in here and I can rotate to my next commentary on that work. So you can cycle through once you start building your commentaries and so forth. I do want to take a little bit of time though to show you one more thing, and that's the pocket dictionaries. So the pocket dictionaries are found in, you have the theological terms, apologetics, biblical studies. I'm going to open up theological terms. And again, you use your table of contents. And if we wanted to go to something like total depravity, I can go here and open it up. And it has anything that's highlighted in green, you can see that it's giving me more information down below. So the links are already there within the article itself. So you can go to the fall, you can go to salvation, you can read about it. And then let's say I wanted to take this and rework it within a word processor. This is really good. I can highlight it. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to copy that with citation. I'm going to go to a word processor and I'm going to paste it. It pastes it in, it puts the number there, and down below it gives me my footnoting. And so if I go to something else and highlight it, let's go to a commentary, and I highlight something from a commentary, and I right click and I copy a citation, and I go to my word processor and I paste. It puts the two there and it puts the information down below. So and again, you can select what kind of footnoting you want. So the program also does footnoting if you're writing papers. And as you build and expand your library, you will see that that becomes very, very helpful if you're doing research. So let's go back to the Bible program. One last thing. In the program, it has a built-in web browser, and this is something else I'll send to you if you're interested in it. You can, I created this little thing here to help me with links, Bible book overviews. Some of this is in that handout, but I can get down here to sermon index. Let's go down here to sermons, preaching. Where's my sermon text? Yeah. So I can, if I click on this, it's going to open up a window right within the program. And then if I'm down here, well, let's actually open up something in this window here. So let's go to sermons and outlines. Let's go to sermon. Let's open it up. Notice how my Bible goes with it. I can open up the text. I can read through it. If there's something in here I want the information on, so I see the word money, I can right click on money and then I can do a search for money. I'm going to look up in my dictionaries, commentaries. I can look it up in my groups. So I'm going to look it up in my English specialty starter groups to see where it talks about money. Oh, I wanted to do, well, let's do the ESV. Whoops. Let's look that up in my dictionary. Yep, there it goes. It will open up to your dictionary. And then you can copy and highlight this and paste it. And so you can use that within, you can create your own user tool and so forth. So that is what a web browser does. I mean, with the web browser, I can open up multiple things. And again, I have them all linked. So I have all sorts of things like quotes, prophecies, maps, hymns. And again, it's nice because it's actually, in fact, part of the Accordance program because there's a built-in web browser. And your library will automatically interact with whatever you're looking at in the web browser window. So that works out really, really good. I see that time has flew by faster than I thought. I wanted to spend a little bit more time, so I think we're going to have to do a part 2, Linda, because I want to go back and slow down on a few things. But I'll take questions at this